Hey, Battle Bill here with another video, and today we're getting some more Season 6 Great League Go Battle League battles. Next on the agenda of Pokemon to test from the Generation 6 Kalos region is Delphox. Delphox is the final evolution of the fire starter Pokemon Fennekin, and Delphox is a fire and psychic type Pokemon. In Pokemon Go, Delphox's recommended moveset is a quick move of Fire Spin and then charge moves of Flame Charge and Psychic that will allow it to have its most success in Go Battle League action. And the team comp I put around it is pretty similar to the team comp that I put around Litleo, so I'm hoping this won't end up being Deja Vu. The backup Pokemon that I use to help protect against Delphox's weaknesses are Cresselia and Azumarill. They just do very well against Pokemon that beat up on fire-type Pokemon. So that was more the logic as to why I ended up going with a very similar team. Hopefully, Delphox will be an improvement to Litleo. These battles will be the true test, and the biggest question I want to answer about Delphox is, can it at least do the job of a fire-type Pokemon? You would hope when you're using a fire-type Pokemon, it will be able to beat up on the steel types and the grass types, because a lot of fire-type Pokemon in Great League do not do that well. So this set will be a test of that, and let's see how I'm able to perform with Delphox. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and you're excited for this spice content because I invested some more dust just so I can get this content to you as quickly as possible. A like or a comment would be extremely appreciated, and of course, obviously a subscribe would be too. But let's start looking at these battles. Thankfully, the Delphox that I invested in is like a rank 5. I was very lucky to catch over the weekend, so investing these resources into it was well worth it just based on the PvP IV aspect. And getting into this first battle, we caught a solid lead here, and it's even better because the Skarmory that we're going up against is running Steel Wing, which means they're generating energy even slower than they would be if they're running Air Slash. A lot of people have not remembered to TM their Skarmories from the Flying Cup that happened a couple seasons ago, and they just let me destroy their Skarmory. The Azu comes in here and they're going for the charge move, so at this point I'm like, you know what, Delphox, you did your job. All I asked for you to do was to beat up on steel types and grass types, and you did that. So even though I was adding another charge move, it was not worth using the shield, especially because I have a counter to Azu in the back, which is Cresselia. That was the main logic with this team comp, and then they swap in Altaria, I bring in Azu, and honestly at this point, everything lined up beautifully. This match is GG, but that was more the logic and why I feel the need to run Cresselia and Azu when putting them with a fire-type Pokemon, just because other Azus are such weaknesses, other Altarias will be extreme weaknesses to fire-type Pokemon, unless like, yeah, I'm trying to think of fire-type Pokemon that would do well against an Altaria, and there's not too many because of Altaria's Dragon typing. So having Moonblast on Cresselia and then having something like Azumarill with Ice Beam to deal super effective damage, plus it's double resisting all the Dragon Breaths that are coming through because Azu is that Fairy type, pairs well when you're trying to make a fire-type Pokemon work in some Great League Go Battle League battles. So at this point, I've got my opponent's last shield, and they didn't even get off another charge move after using that shield. I'm going to throw this Ice Beam. It will take out the Altaria's remaining health, and if they want to continue to play out this matchup, the Azumarill will come in, I will swap into Cresselia, and all I really need to do is throw these Grass Knots. Honestly, I'm going to shield here. They can bait me, they can throw the Hydro Pump. It doesn't make a difference at this point. Cresselia is going to get off the necessary charge moves to take out the Azumarill, and this match worked out well. Delphox did what I asked for it to do, and one thing that I like about Delphox over Litleo, again the Pokemon I tested a couple videos ago, is that it has access to Fire Spin over Fire Fang, and as much as Fire Spin is not an amazing move, at least it does a little bit of damage while generating energy better than Fire Fang. So it allows you to get to those charge moves like Flame Charge and Psychic quicker than Litleo would. Alright, let's get into this next match. Can we catch another positive lead for our Delphox to have success against it? We got Delphox on a Ferrothorn. This is a beautiful lead. This is probably the most optimal lead to run into because Ferrothorn will take double super effective being a steel and grass type. They safe swap into Defense Deoxys, so I safe swap into my Cresselia. I threw an extra Fire Spin because I was debating if I wanted to assist my Cresselia in this matchup and potentially go for a charge move, but then I remembered Fire Spin and building up to either one of Delphox's charge moves is going to take a while, which will allow the defense Deoxys to get a bunch of energy for when I switch in my Cresselia. So I kind of made a slight hesitation there. That's usually what ends up happening when you're testing out new Pokemon. You're still kind of ironing out the kinks and figuring out how exactly you want to play in very specific situations like this. And at this point, we're just going to be trading charge moves back and forth, and my hope is that I will be able to outpace them to these charge moves and keep switch advantage. Now, what I do here is, since I shielded, I expect them to shield. So instead of me throwing the Moonblast, I decide to throw the Grass Knot as essentially like a bait, and they don't shield. If I throw the Moonblast there, I put the Deoxys at a health range where I'm going to be able to Psycho Cut down and keep switch advantage, and this kind of sets me back in this match a bit more than I would have preferred. So at this point now I have to just go straight Grass Knot, and they decide still not to shield. They take their shield advantage while continuing to lose switch advantage, and they come back in with Ferrothorn, and I'm like, oh no, are they going to completely farm me down? Because one issue for Delphox, as much as it's going to perform well against Ferrothorn, is it's not exactly the tankiest, like could be said about every fire Pokemon in the Great League. So I'm extremely worried about getting farmed down. Thankfully, they didn't completely farm me down, but they definitely over-farmed a bunch. So when I let Cresselia go down, I'm fully expecting a charge move to come at my Delphox here, and it does immediately. Because Flash Cannon got nerfed, most Ferrothorns are running Thunder like that, and that makes this matchup a little bit less fortunate for me. And then they decide to swap, almost catching a charge move. And we're not in the best situation here because we're at a shield disadvantage, and their Azu, well, we're going to find out soon. I just remember from doing these battles, is running Play Rough, whereas my Azu is not. So I don't remember, do I quit this match or do I play this out completely? Well, let's see. We're gonna trade some Hydro Pumps and some Play Roughs back and forth, but I'm not feeling great about this because I'm really just worried that Azu is going to beat, their Azu is going to beat my Azu and then beat my Delphox, on top of the fact that if they still have shields, my Delphox won't be able to take out their Ferrothorn before they get to another charge move, whereas I have no shields. So at this point, what I decide to do is I decide to try and bait, because they still have their 2 shields. Their Azu's at half health, they might want to hold on to it. Luckily, I pull off the bait there, and I'm like thinking, what is my best course of action? Do I try and swap, or do I bait again? Do I try to like sacrifice Delphox here? But then again, I need Delphox to deal with the Ferrothorn, so I don't want to do that. So I leave my Azumarill in, they land that Play Rough, and then they pull off an amazing swap, and this ends up sealing the deal for me, unfortunately, and they catch a Hydro Pump on their Ferrothorn. Now, what I could have done, which you might be saying in the comment section, is that I could have undercharged the Hydro Pump that went through, so that Delphox could essentially farm more energy down from it. But what I was worried about was where their Ferrothorn's energy was at, because a Power Whip definitely would have taken out my Delphox from that range. So honestly, at that point, whether I undercharged or fully charged it the way that I did, this was GG once they pulled that swap. It was a great play by them, especially overcoming such a terrible lead. And my backline was pretty meta, so GG's to my opponent, and Delphox being glassy wasn't the best for that situation. In that end game, if I wasn't so concerned about a Power Whip potentially taking out Delphox because of its glassiness, I might have undercharged that Hydro Pump, tried to play differently, but either way, my opponent did a great job there and completely earned that win. Getting into the third match, we have another positive lead. So, unlike my Litleo video, and I couldn't really line it up with too many positive leads other than the first match, Delphox is catching all the positive leads and scaring all the Skarmories away in any Steel type that's going to go and face it, which, again, is what you would hope for from a Fire type. So they swap into Azumarill. I have the counter I'm looking for here in Cresselia. I call their bait, which is huge, and that pretty much seals me keeping switch advantage. Honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty confident even if they land the Hydro Pump, I win out this matchup regardless, but me calling that Ice Beam is just... I don't want to say GG to the entire match, but GG to this specific part of the match, because I'm going to keep on spamming Grass Knots. Whatever they throw, I can now shield and feel comfortable about. They decide not to shield, and I know that a Hydro Pump will not take out my Cresselia at this health, so I'm going to let this go through and then commit to a Psycho Cut down. Ends up being the Hydro Pump. Cresselia is a beast of a tank. I feel like Cresselia is so underrated. The fact that it doesn't get more play kind of boggles my mind, especially because it does so well against Azumarill, but I guess with all the Skarmories and Galarian Stunfisks around, that's what scares away Cresselia for the most part. But this team of 3 is not scared of Skarmory because we have Delphox, and Delphox almost built up to, well, before coming in, pretty much had a Flame Charge. Now is at the Flame Charge, throws it. Our opponent lets that go through, completely roasts the Skarmory. They come in with the Shift Tree. I was going to say Shadow Shift Tree. They come in with the Shift Tree, and with shields, this Shift Tree has no chance, even with its Dark typing against Delphox's Fire typing. And I can commit to a Fire Spin down, but what I'm going to do here, even though, yes, they have shields, and you don't really want to throw charge moves when your opponent has shields, is I'm going to throw the Flame Charge because it boosts my attack. Plus, my opponent knew this match was over, so they let that Flame Charge come through, and Delphox took out 2/3 of their team. We gotta give it some props there. It's doing the job you would hope a Fire-type Pokemon would do. Beat Grass and Steel. You might be saying to yourself, obviously, Battle Bill, a Fire-type Pokemon is going to beat Grass and Steel types. But if you look around the Great League meta, I promise you there are a lot of Fire types that still struggle in those types of matchups, which is really why we don't see a lot of Fire types in Great League other than Alolan Marowak. So, getting into this fourth match of the set, we lose lead hard there. Cresselia is going to absolutely wall Delphox. So we save swap into, I said Altaria. Well, Delphox, right? I hope that's what I said. We swap into Cresselia. I feel like I said Cresselia because I was thinking like that was my swap. But regardless, we swap into Cresselia. We shield that because they decided to stay in. So I'm like, you know what? I want to commit to this situation. If they want to commit, I'm going to commit. We land the Moonblast. Does a great chunk to their Altaria. And then they decide to swap. And I'm like, you know what? Me shielding the Sky Attack is fine because that Sky Attack would have done similar amount of damage, if not more, than the Defense Deoxys' Rock Slides that are going to come through. So that was definitely the move to want to cover. We still are at the shield disadvantage, so I have no intentions of shielding any moves from the Defense Deoxys. But what I'm going to hope to do here, because I don't think I'm going to get switched, actually what I think I do is I let another Rock Slide come through. Yes, this is how I play this out. I'm going to let another Rock Slide come through. I'm going to throw the Moonblast, and then I think I swap into Delphox because I want to try and like Fire Spin, farm it down, and I know they just do their Rock Slides, so they don't have a lot of energy. Or do I decide against it? I know that was a play I was thinking in my head. No, Defense Deoxys. Oh no, I did do that. Okay, I did do that. So I swap into Delphox to try and commit to a Fire Spin down, and I guess I was about to get it off because they then swap into their Altaria, and I make a pretty crucial mistake here. I kind of forgot the shielding situation and the fact that their Altaria is so low. There was no reason to throw the Psychic. I could have, I guess, maybe hoped for the debuff, but I should have went for the guaranteed attack buff in Flame Charge, because at least these Fire Spins would have done a little bit more damage after that getting shielded. But you know what? That works out pretty nicely. We have the Altaria low. Its energy is pretty much out at this point. They are Dragon Breathing away, so they're going to get to another Sky Attack. And I have every intention of getting greedy with Azumarill here. It's my only chance of potentially pulling out this match. I know Defense Deoxys is practically dead. This Altaria, we see exactly where it's at, so I think I'm going to actually commit to a Bubble Down. I get like really greedy at this point. I'm past 100 energy, and I know that the Sky Attack's coming. I'm like, you know what, let's shield this just in case their last Pokemon is a quick move type Pokemon where I might not end up needing to use a shield. So that was my logic. And then they come in with Toxicroak, and I'm like, okay, this is great that I got all this energy. I'm at 100, so this could easily be a Hydro Pump coming through. I decide to bait though. I get their shields, and we are going to pull this match off with the Azumarill as long as they don't pull off the swap like my last opponent did. They don't. This Hydro Pump is going to take out the Toxicroak. Once Defense Deoxys comes back in, we're going to bubble it down, and we overcame a pretty poor lead there with Delphox against Altaria. And Delphox, you know, it did some work. It scared the Deoxys away. It didn't like take a charge move there. It was able to get a shield from the Altaria. And Delphox didn't really have any positive matchups in that match at all. So it handled its own. It definitely, like, you know, lifted a little bit of its weight so that Azu and Cresselia could really clutch the rest of the match, because they're definitely the big winners there. What was also big about Delphox in that match is that it forced the Sky Attack from Altaria. I'm trying to find some positives here for all the investment I made into this Delphox, because it's definitely an improvement over Litleo. I have to give it that. We face another Altaria lead here. We do the exact same thing we wanted to do last time, except our opponent pulls off a really great swap, does not stay in to get Moonblasted by my Cresselia, and they actually catch the Moonblast on the Galarian Sunfist, which is a great play because you preferably want to throw the neutral Grass Knot at Galarian Sunfist. But again, let's keep in mind, when you're trying to run something as spicy as Delphox, you're not going to have too much success running it with a bunch more spice. So if we want to get a true feel for how Delphox performs, it needs to have some other meta mons around it that can carry their weight and really allow Delphox to shine in the situations you want it to shine in. And so far it has, and we did overcome a poor lead in the last match. This was also another poor lead. So the question is, how is this match going to turn out? And is Delphox going to do anything positive in this match like it did in the last one? So what I'm going to end up doing here is letting this Rock Slide come through. I probably could have shielded that and committed to switch, but I'm like, you know what? Let's get that Fire Spin through with Delphox. Get a little bit of energy. We fully expect the Altaria to be coming back in. They're waiting out their switch timer so that they can swap when I swap, but then their last Pokemon ends up being an Azumarill, and Delphox cannot do anything in this match because the only thing it would have been able to do any damage to would have been the Galarian Stunfisk, and that lined up with Microcelia. And Delphox has no play against Azu or Altaria, and their Azu has Play Rough, which gives them even more of an advantage in this matchup. And unfortunately, there's just not going to be anything I can do to pull out this match, so I quit it early, save us the time of the really slow Azu matchup, and save us the time of watching Delphox get slaughtered in the end. Overall, the Fire typing is just not a strong typing in Great League Go Battle League battles. Was I impressed with Delphox? I don't know if impressed is the word. I think my expectations for it were just so low that if it did anything more than Litleo did, it would go above the expectations. And it did. I like that Delphox is a little bit tankier than Litleo, and I like that Delphox can generate energy a little bit faster than Litleo. The Fire Spins do a nice amount of damage. I don't know the exact specifics on the stats of comparing Fire Spin to Fire Fang, but I definitely know Fire Spin did solid damage in these matches and definitely generated energy quicker. And then having access of getting to Flame Charge, which I think is huge for a lot of these Fire-type Pokemon, but I still think that Fire types are just so weak in the meta. Maybe they should allow Flame Charge to be a bit cheaper because they could use any advantage they can get. But Delphox did do its job of taking care of the Steel types and the Grass types that we saw in these matches, and I pulled off a positive set, so that was always exciting. Overall, do I think you should necessarily invest in a Delphox for Go Battle League? No. If you want to win and stick meta, Delphox is not the answer. If you want to mess around and play with some spice and potentially have some success, like I did, then yeah, go ahead, go invest in your Delphox, go invest in your other spice mods. It's definitely another one to add to the collection for some potential fun matchups. Let me know what you thought about Delphox in these Go Battle League battles, and let me know if there's another team of 3 you would try out with Delphox, or if there are any other spice Pokemon you want to see me testing out on the channel, because I got a couple submissions that I'm excited to get to showcase some more Generation 6 Pokemon. And then towards the end of this week for Great League, I have intentions of just covering some more meta non-Gen 6 teams so that we can wrap up Great League on a good note and then start focusing on what's going to be the best stuff for Ultra League. But on that note, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.